Finally welcome you all here. We've been working very hard on this work program 2025. So I'm very happy that we can share today with you this version of the program itself. I am joined here by my colleagues Elisa. Yeah, she's raising her hand. Emily, which I cannot see, but I hope that she's also raising her hand. And Sophia, who will each guide you through the different destinations, as we call them, of our part of the work program 2025. And Boerut, if you share the agenda, you will see that our session today takes all morning, but it's fully dedicated to going through the different topics of the NEB part of the Horizon Europe work program. Yes. I will first give a short introduction of the European Bauhaus in general, because I see that we have new participants who might not be familiar with what the European Bauhaus is, and then we go step by step through each of the destinations of the work program. And after each destination, you will have a lot of opportunities to ask questions. So unclarities, things that you want to hear from us. There are ample opportunities to ask questions, and we will also have some opportunities to ask questions at the end. And of course, a short break in between, because it's a lot of information to take in. That's something that we always realize in the sessions like this. So without further ado, I think we should just go into the session, and I will start with my introduction. Are there any questions already now? Practical questions, things that you would like to clarify, things that are not working? I don't see any hands so far. So that means that we're good to go. Okay. Indeed, about the European Bauhaus. So the European Bauhaus was launched in 2021, meant to translate the EU Green Deal in tangible solutions for our living environment. And we basically asked everybody at the starting point, how would you like to live together in this moment of big transitions? How do you see your living environment and your future? And that sparked a lot of energy and a lot of input that we worked on in the past years. What we try to do is turn the challenges of the Green Deal and the clean transition in opportunities on the ground. So showing really with good examples, best practices, what our new living environment could look like. And we worked with three core values: beauty, sustainability, and inclusion. And as was added later, after our first outreach to stakeholders, is three principles: a participatory approach, multi-level engagement, and transdisciplinary ways of working. And those are all woven in also into the Horizon Europe Work Program 2025. What we saw so far is that the European Bauhaus has become really a catalyst for the Green Deal over the past 4 years. We have now a very big community of over 1,400 members. We had already a lot of funding from 9 different programs that we worked with on an ad hoc basis, or yearly basis. And we have about 500 projects that are now ongoing in all parts of Europe, but also beyond. For example, in Ukraine, but also different parts of the world. The European Bauhaus was further strengthened in the political guidelines for the new mandate. We had a new mandate that started in the end of last year. And in the political guidelines for the new European Commission, we are now under the heading Supporting People and Strengthening Our Societies. And the steer has become also a lot bigger than we had before. We are now steered by 5 different commissioners and the President's Cabinet. So what we try to do with the European Bauhaus, working in a more horizontal way by bringing together different values, not working only on sustainability, not only on inclusion, not only on projects for the cultural sector, but bringing them all together. We also try to do that in a similar way in our own environment inside the European Commission. So what we are going to present to you today, the Horizon Europe work program for 2025, is part of a bigger, our bigger funding initiative for the next 3 years, which is called the European Bauhaus Facility. And if you go to the next slide, Boerhoed. The facility is our main funding instrument for the next 3 years. And as I just explained, we had already funding from 9 different programs. We worked in a very horizontal way. We have already 500 projects that are all ongoing in Europe. But we saw from the project owners and from the results that we got in so far, that we had to work on deepening and widening our support in many different ways. And that's why we wanted to have certain predictability and a more streamlined program that would take at least 3 years. And that became our facility. So the facility will foster the development and uptake of the European Bauhaus projects and solutions, and it is focused on the transformation of neighborhoods. So making neighborhoods more beautiful, sustainable and inclusive, because we saw in the beginning of the European Bauhaus that we went very broad, but we wanted to focus specifically on a local scale, on a scale where people are active in their daily life and where we can really make a difference and have an added value for the living environments of the future. So what are the expected outcomes of the facility? We have defined 3 different objectives, and we defined those objectives with a almost year-long consultation round. We went to all the member states. We asked people to give us feedback in a big consultation online, and we processed that in the 3 objectives on where to make the differences in neighborhoods. The first objective is transforming places with communities, and it's really about improving people's capacity to tackle the green transition in their own environment, in their physical environment. It's, for example, about strengthening connections between people, but it's also about maximizing the arts and culture as a tool or as a way of looking at the world, but also to make people feel at home and use the creative industries as a driver for change. Looking, for example, also at what makes people feel at home, looking at cultural heritage. So this is a physical component to really transforming places with communities. Then the second objective is about supporting innovation. This is more about the construction ecosystem that makes, of course, a big part of the local environment. If we talk about buildings, if we talk about public space, that of course also has a physical component. And while we would like to support innovation, the facility needs to foster, or this part needs to foster, a sustainable and circular regenerative construction ecosystem that is both inclusive but also accessible, affordable, resilient, and promotes health and well-being. So it's also about developing innovative solutions to make buildings and materials more sustainable and adaptable and also reusable. So we both try to deepen the research, but we also try to widen the uptake and scaling up these kinds of, for example, material solutions to work faster and better in the construction sector. And then Objective 3 is about enabling change. That is really about looking at the economic side of our neighborhood approach, trying to look at new business models, trying to see what kind of tools there are out there, methods that actually help to make sure that the 2 previous objectives are also happening in a more economic and a more systemic way. So how do we do it? we have two different components. You heard me already saying it a little bit implicitly. We have a research component that develops new solutions by fostering new types of research, going deeper into certain topics, also by developing pilots, demonstrators. And then we have a rollout component that is really working on implementing and scaling up all those good practices. And of course, as you heard my previous story, we have already 500 ongoing projects. We have already funded quite a lot of support actions. We're not starting from scratch. So also with the research, but also with the rollout component, we build on the knowledge that has been already generated with the European Bauhaus in the past 4 years. Just to say, the facility runs from 2025 to 2027. We have for the R&I component for each year, for 2025, for 2026 and 2027, each will have 120 million per year in research funding. And we have a similar ambition for the rollout component as well. So even also there, we would like to have at least 120 million per year in uptake, and we do that also again through different EU programs, but also national and local funding links. So that is a bit in short how the facility is built up. You can find everything in our roadmap. It's a document that was published on the 25th of March. And there you see our key topics or the key work streams, a bit more description of the background, what we try to do, and also a better definition of those 3 objectives. If you go to the next slide, Boert. Yeah. Today, we really go into the R&I component, and we will present to you the pre-published version of the work program. It's a stable version of the work program, but it's not been formally adopted by the European Commission yet. You can find it in chapter 13, dedicated to the NEB facility. If you go to the next slide, Boert, then you see the disclaimer. So once the Horizon Europe work program is formally adopted, we will organize an official information session, and this is now foreseen for the 4th of June in the morning. And the NEB for All project will organize a brokerage event the day after, and that is now foreseen for the 5th of June in the afternoon. So once the Horizon Europe program is formally adopted, you will be sure that all the information that we present today is also officially there. So just a bit a message before we really start and dive into the different destinations. What has changed in the Horizon Europe main work program 2025? You will find in an annex dedicated to the R&I component of the NEB facility. This is what I just mentioned, is Annex 13. So the NEB facility is a cross-cluster issue, and therefore it could not be placed in the existing part of the Horizon Europe main work program. But we also like this very much because this dedicated annex increases the visibility and the ease of use in of the work program and how to find the different sections of the European Bauhaus. So it allows us for a more structured and strategic use of the budget allocated to the R&I component, which is the 120 million that I just mentioned. I see a lot of comments coming in, but I also see already the answers to the comments. That's very good. And you see also how the different destinations are being built up. It also includes a glossary of key terms that we use in the NEB part of the Horizon Europe work program. For example, the definition of neighborhoods. Some key elements, key definitions of the terms that we use that are key to understand what the European Bauhaus is. So the annex is structured, I said it already a little bit, in 3, it structures the topics in 3 destinations, connecting the Green Deal to local democracy, circular approaches to the built environment, and innovative funding and business models for the transformation of neighborhoods. It was prepared paying special attention to making the topics more accessible to smaller players and newcomers, including SMEs and actors from the cultural and creative sectors. This is something we heard very clearly in the consultation round that we did last year, where our stakeholders and many stakeholders that are involved in the European Bauhaus are small players. So we really try to cater also for them in this work program. And we did that in different ways. We try to use lump sum and financial support for small parties. We try to make the wording as clear and concise as possible so that it's not jargon, but also is widely accessible to a different type of target groups. And we tried to cater and set requirements to follow a transdisciplinary and participatory approach. And what we mean with that is we did not say you have to include people from the cultural and creative sector, but by making the work program transdisciplinary and let different types of stakeholders work together, we try to make sure that we cater for the accessibility of different types of target groups that are not so common to the Horizon Europe work program in general. So I think I should stop here. This is just my introduction for now. I will give the word back to Borut to go deeper into each destination, each of the 3 different work streams that we have with the different topics connected to that. Borut, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vera. I won't be diving into the destinations, but it will be my colleagues. So I invite Elisa to take the floor and present to you the calls under Destination 1. Please, Elisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Borut, and good morning, everyone. Really happy to be with you finally to explain the topics of this work program. So yes, Destination 1. So it is about connecting the green transformation with social inclusion and local democracy. In the work program, you have a dedicated introductory text where you can have more details on the destination. I will just start by saying that this destination in work program 25 has 2 main aims. One is to understand how individual habits, mindsets, behaviors, but also how collective mindsets, habits, and behaviors can change into more sustainable and inclusive ones. And that covering the 3 geographical areas that facility aims to cover, so urban, peri-urban, and rural areas, and how to promote interconnections between these diverse realities. Therefore, turning, as Vera was saying, the limitations stemming from the green and digital transitions into actual opportunities. And the second main aim would be about further exploring the transformative potential of participatory practices and governance models, notably how culture, the arts, the creative industry, as well as the socio-cultural work sector can enhance transformation processes for the green transition. How can help address vulnerability and social equity concerns, and also how it can contribute to social inclusion, democracy at the local level, and sense of belonging. Now, this being said, we can move to the next slide. This destination forces 4 topics in Work Program 25. But before going into the details of each of them, I would like to highlight 3 aspects that are common to all these topics. First of all, they all include a paragraph indicating that proposals are expected to follow a participatory and transdisciplinary approach. Now, the actors and disciplines to be involved will depend on each topic and also on the concept that each proposal will be putting forward. Second common aspect to these 4 topics is that they all include a reference to the integration of social sciences and humanities. And the third point is that they all include as well a reference to projects dedicating at least 2% of their total budget to share intermediate and final results and finding with the European Bauhaus Hub for Results and Impact, which is a coordination and support action that will be gathering knowledge about and from NEB projects and actions, and also making it accessible in a user-friendly way to stakeholders. And just last thing, so when we say 2% of the project should be used to be sharing results, we don't mean transferring the budget to the NEB Hub, but really budgeting costs to devote activities to this sharing of results and findings. And I think that with this, we can move to the next slide to start with the first topic, which is the impact of common space on neighborhood communities. This is a research and innovation action with an indicative budget of 10.5 million euros, which is expected to fund 3 projects. The deadline is the same for all the topics, so 12th of November 2025 this year. And there is the specific legal and financial setup for this topic because it is a lump sum topic. Now, if we go to the next slide, please. Now, before going into the details of the content, maybe a little bit of context and why this topic is there, why we found it was relevant. So, as you know, one of the 3 values of the new Bauhaus is inclusion, and common spaces play a key role in it. They can bring people together, they can facilitate social interactions, they can create a sense of trust and community. So this topic really focuses on generating better knowledge on how common spaces affect social relations in neighborhoods and their communities. And something maybe to highlight as well is that you may have noticed we are using in this topic the term common space, which is wider than the notion of public space, because common space also covers semi-public or private places that are accessible by all. So really important to have a look at the glossary, because we included a definition of common space there so that applicants have more clarity on how to interpret this in the text. Now, for the expected outcomes, we have 2 in this topic. The first expected outcome revolves about better understanding the effects of the design, aesthetics, and other features of common spaces on inhabitants. And by this we mean notably their behavior, but not only. We are also thinking of other elements that are listed already in the text, such as health, sense of belonging, security, and then also the impact of common spaces on the possibility to generate opportunities, different forms of value. The second expected outcome is oriented towards enhancing the capacities of relevant stakeholders to integrate insights generated by this topic in policies, strategies, plans, and measures for the regeneration of common spaces neighborhoods. And when it comes to the actual activities that are included in the scope, they can be summarized in 2 main requirements. First, to study a range of common space projects in at least 3 EU member states or associated countries, collecting data and drawing on evidence on medium and long-term impacts, also on the effects of design, including the integration of NEB values, the effects of maintenance as well, including, for instance, the degradation of bordering built environment and or the presentation of cultural heritage, also collecting data and understanding the uses and experiences of common space by different groups, and taking into consideration variations across different periods of the year. And after studying all this, then using the research evidence to provide policy recommendations for public administrations and other stakeholders that are involved in the regeneration of common spaces in neighborhoods. Now, next slide, please. Then we are moving to the second topic, which is fostering and maintaining the social fabric for the green transition in neighborhoods. This is a research and innovation action with an indicative budget of 9 million euros, which expects to fund 3 projects, similar deadline as the other topics, so 12 November 2025. And also the legal and financial setup of this topic is a lump sum topic. We move to the next slide, please. Yes. Now, again, why this topic? Well, there are 3 key elements in this topic. One is social connections, another one is cultural participation, and the third one is civic engagement. So social connections and cultural participation are associated with well-being, and evidence shows that cultural participation is also associated with positive aspects such as civic behavior, empathy, tolerance, security, and social cohesion. Therefore, this topic focuses on better understanding the interplay between cultural participation, social connections, and civic engagement, and how the resulting evidence can be used to maintain or strengthen the social fabric in neighborhoods and at the same time address other challenges, for instance, loneliness. There are 3 expected outcomes in this topic. The first expected outcome focuses on improving the evidence on how cultural participation may reinforce the social fabric and civic engagement and contribute to the green transition in neighborhoods. The second expected outcome revolves around further understanding the role that cultural and creative sectors can play in participatory decision-making, in community engagement, and in activities for the green transition in neighborhoods. And the third expected outcome results from applying the knowledge generated to improve methods and strategies that increase sense of belonging, collective engagement, and ownership in the green transition of neighborhoods. Let's say the requirements that are indicated in the scope can be, let's say, summarized in 3 main points. First of all, to study the conditions under which cultural participation may reinforce the social fabric and civic engagement, looking into existing evidence, collecting data, identifying possible trends, gaps, correlations, benefits, etc. Second, demonstrating at least 3 evidence-based methods or strategies in at least 3 neighborhoods in different member states or associated countries to foster and maintain social fabric. And this includes analyzing the effectiveness and potential for sustained effect over time. And the third point, or the third requirement, would be about proposing recommendations for public authorities and not-for-profit organizations based on the evidence collected. And this may also include other aspects needed for their implementation, such as skills, competencies, and partnerships. Next slide. We are moving to the third topic, which is beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive street furniture for the transformation of neighborhoods. This is an innovation action with an indicative budget of 10.4 million euros, which is expected to fund 2 projects, similar deadline as the other topics in this destination, 12th of November this year. And then the legal and financial setup in this case is giving the possibility to applicants to use financial support to third parties. So this is an option. In case proposals would like to use that, then the maximum amount per third party would be 100,000 euros. Then if we move to the next slide, yes. Indeed. So in this case, what we can explain about this topic as a bit of context is that street furniture has an impact on neighborhoods and their inhabitants at many different levels, such as the quality of experience, for instance, in terms of accessibility, safety, and comfort, also in terms of health and well-being, also as regards sociocultural aspects, such as social interactions, sense of belonging, cultural identity, respect for common spaces, and it can also have an impact on the local economy. Therefore, this topic focuses on applying the NEB values to prototype and demonstrate innovative sets of street furniture that offers more attractive, sustainable, and inclusive design solutions for neighborhoods. This topic has 2 expected outcomes. The first of them is about better integrating different actors, and by this we mean public authorities, social actors, as well as the arts, culture, and creative sectors and industries. So better integrating these actors into the design and development of innovative street furniture. The second expected outcome revolves about applying the evidence on the uses of street furniture and the role of co-creation in the design of street furniture to really inform procurement processes with the ultimate view or objective of improving quality of experience, safety, security, sustainability, climate resilience, and inclusiveness in neighborhoods. The scope defines also what proposals are expected to look at. First point would be about developing and demonstrating innovative designs for sets of street furniture that really contribute to a functional common space all throughout the year. that also contribute to improved environmental performance, that also strengthens the aesthetic and cultural integrity of the common space, and that meets the needs of different population groups also throughout the time. The second requirement is to apply participatory methods when co-designing and prototyping innovative street furniture. And finally, integrating the resulting insights into recommendations that would inform procurement processes for street furniture. Now moving to the next slide, and this would be the last topic under this destination, which is network of neighborhoods for innovative policies on gentrification. So this is a coordination and support action with an indicative budget of 2.5 million euros. It's expected to fund one project, similar deadline as the other topics, so 12th of November this year. And then the legal and financial setup of this topic is lump sum. So this is a lump sum topic. Next slide, please. Yes, so a little bit of context also on this topic. So actions to regenerate neighborhoods may bring positive effects to these neighborhoods or designed to bring positive effects and increase their attractiveness. But these same actions may also have negative consequences related to segregation or exclusion or displacement, socioeconomic inequalities, loss of cultural identity, etc. So this topic really focuses or supports. The focus of this topic is to support informal networking among neighborhoods, to exchange knowledge and experiences, to build their capacities, as well as to facilitate innovation in policymaking to mitigate the negative consequences of gentrification. And as you may have seen, this topic looks at gentrification, but it also covers green gentrification, which may result from urban greening agendas and interventions. And also in this case, we have included in the glossary of the NEB part of the work program a definition of green gentrification to also guide applicants to better understand what is meant in this topic. Now, when it comes to the expected outcomes, there are three of them. The first is about increasing the use of policies to mitigate the negative consequences of gentrification and enhance its positive impacts, and also, covering the different geographical ambitions of the facility, so urban, peri-urban, and rural neighborhoods. The second expected outcome focuses on increasing the capacity of local policymakers to anticipate and mitigate these negative consequences of gentrification when designing and implementing policies aligned with NEB. And the third expected outcome relates to local communities feeling empowered and engaging in decision-making processes to mitigate the negative consequences of gentrification that may be resulting from regeneration actions in neighborhoods. Finally, the scope defines the requirements for proposals. So first requirement is about creating a bottom-up network, and ideally this network would integrate at least 15 neighborhoods. So I was saying from the different areas covered by the facility, so urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. So ideally at least 15 neighborhoods from different member states and associated countries, which have a potential or a risk of gentrification. Then proposals are expected to map these neighborhoods' needs, challenges, trends, and opportunities to inform policies and interventions, and also identify, document, and disseminate knowledge, evidence, policy design, tools, and best practices that can be used to tackle gentrification and to address those needs, challenges, etc. Finally, proposals need to, on the one hand, support local decision makers in better understanding gentrification aspects such as drivers, effects, and interplays, and then to actually address gentrification in the neighborhoods of the network through at least one of the two actions that are listed in the last line of the slide. So developing or revising local policies, and that's one type of action, or the other one is developing strategies. So at least one of these should also be present in the proposals. And I think that's all from me. Now, of course, if there are questions, I'll be happy to take them, and back to you, Borut. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Elisa, for this succinct but in-depth overview of the Destination 1 and the 4 topics under it. We got a few questions. Let me see if this works. I hope you can see the questions that we received on Slido, and I would just start with the first one, which also corresponds to some of the questions that we got in general. So how to find partners for NEB projects under Horizon? Elisa, do you have any recommendations or guidelines on this?
Yeah, well, I see that this is more of horizontal question for all topics, not only for destination one. I can already reply, but then my other colleagues also involved in the other destinations can come in as well. So how to find partners? Vera was mentioning that there is a brokerage event foreseen on the 5th of June, and that is organized by this NEB for All project, which is a project bringing together the different European Bauhaus NCPs. So the idea with this brokerage event is really to facilitate connections among prospective applicants. Then there is also in the web page for each topic, when they will be published in the Funding and Tenders portal, there will be a section to express interest, to look for partners in, it will be topic specific. And then finally, you can also have a look at the New Bauhaus website, where we have the New Bauhaus a section on the New Bauhaus community. This is not necessarily a tool designed to search for partners, but it's a way to find NEB-minded organizations that are already involved in the New Bauhaus. But of course, the ultimate decision on the partners for each proposal will depend on the actual proposal, on the needs of the topic, etc. So I think that's what I would say. I don't know if Emily or Sophia would like to come in to complement.
Emily, Sophia, any? I don't really see you because I have everything else open. So if you want to come in, just please come in.
Well, I have nothing to add. Elisa already said everything.
Okay.
All right, but Elisa, then I would challenge you with the second question on Slido, because it's linked to the partnership and then it's linked to the NEB community. So understanding the role of for-profit businesses as NEB friends or partners who are non-profit organizations or project participants. So whoever put in the question, you can also come in and explain a bit more. My understanding is, do NEB friends, partners have any specific relation? So does being a member of a NEB community or having a status in NEB community, either NEB friend or NEB partner, have any connection with applications to the Horizon Europe calls?
Not really. I mean, so one thing is the New Bauhaus initiative, and there are NEB friends and partners, entities interested in joining this community. They can apply to become partners or friends, depending on their legal status. And then there is the New Bauhaus topics under this work program. So it's not, there are two different things. Of course, some of the partners or friends may be interested in applying to NEB calls, but many other organizations that are not part of the community may also be interested. So then Horizon Europe calls are really open to anyone, and any entity that is eligible to apply under Horizon Europe is of course subject to the restrictions stipulated by the Horizon Europe. So Horizon Europe topics for NEB are open to anyone that is interested and eligible to apply, and it can be NEB friends and partners or not. I mean, that's different from that's two different things. I don't know if I made myself clear. I hope.
Yeah, I think you do. But if I just repeat in a very short sentence, no, being a member of NEB community does not have any specific effect on any application or partnership consortium. Then we have a few questions diving deep in specific topics. So I chose the first one. I will come back to that one, but let's work with this one. How would the financial support to third parties practically work in the third topic? Could you give an example?
Well, it really, I mean, maybe I will not say read out loud, but basically, financial support to third parties gives the possibility to the consortium to, let's say, sub-grant to external parties that are not members of the consortium, and they do it through a call that has to be published on the Funding and Tenders portal. So basically, the support to third party is the winning consortium or consortia. They have the possibility to launch a call during the project implementation or several calls, depending on the program or the work program of the project, to really provide support to third parties that would then be the delivering part of the project. This is the common idea behind financial support to third parties. This, in this topic, is an option. It means that proposals may consider this option or not. If they consider to use this option, they need to explain and to really elaborate on it in the proposal. And there are specific parts that the template provides space to address. Is that clear enough?
It is for me, but for the person who asked the question, if you would like, if you have any follow-up questions or requests for clarifications, please come in either on Slido or also the chat. We are flexible and monitoring everything to come in. The third question, Elisa, so it's this one. Is there an example or more than one about neighborhoods that were affected by gentrification?
That's a bit of a tricky question because gentrification is a phenomenon that has been researched for a long time now. But then, of course, the concrete neighborhoods for this network will depend on the actual proposal. So I cannot really give specific examples because that will depend on the approach of the proposal, the concept, and how they want to tackle the requirements of the topic.
All clear, thank you. And the last one on Slido, then we'll move to the one that we received in registration. So second and third topic have a demonstration part, while the first one does not, only understanding and policy recommendation. Is this correct, or are we missing something?
Let's say that maybe it's a bit so, I'm not sure I think I understand the question, but this difference. So research and innovation actions do not normally have demonstration. That corresponds to innovation action. So the actual terminology for demonstration we are using mostly in participation 03. Now for participation 2 and 1, of course, there are some actions that need to be implemented to collect data, to collect evidence, to test. So I would say that's a bit the difference when it comes to research and innovation actions, because they are in an earlier stage of research. It's more about, let's say, collecting data, testing, etc. And then when it's more advanced, so innovation action is more leaning towards demonstration. But again, maybe a little bit, I mean, that's what I understand from the question, but if I didn't interpret it properly, please come in and let me provide a bit of clarity.
Definitely. Thanks, Elisa. So the invitation for those who have any follow-up to the questions and replies that Elisa and then later on other colleagues will provide, we don't bite. Don't be afraid to come in. Elisa, we have a question that Vera addressed a bit, but maybe just to kind of repeat it. So where are the NEB topics in the work program for Horizon Europe?
So yeah, so in this case, in this year for Work Program 25, I'm provided that there is, again, we're speaking about the pre-published version, but what Vera was explaining is that we have a dedicated annex where all the NEB facility topics in the R&I component are included. And this chapter 13 is where you will find the topics in Destination 1, Destination 2, and Destination 3. So all NEB facility topics under the R&I component will be together in this single annex. Now, that is also something that we can also highlight, and then here I speak under the control of my colleagues. That you may also find some New European Bauhaus topics in other parts of the work program, especially in the clusters, but those are not NEB facility topics. Those may be, topics contributing to the New European Bauhaus in a different, they are not dedicated to the New European Bauhaus. They are contributing, like more of a, they do not have topics outside of this annex. Topics in this Annex 13 of the work program will be entirely and exclusively devoted to the implementation of the NEB facility through the R&I component. Topics in the work program for Horizon Europe 2025 that are outside of this annex, so in the clusters, may include a reference to the NEB. In that case, those would be contributing topics, meaning considering the NEB as an element of context or as a priority, but not exclusively dedicated to the New Urban Bauhaus initiative.
Clear. Thanks, Elisa.
And the two screens I have here now.
We have a question from Hazel. Is there a list of those topics where lump sum funding is available? So Hazel, I don't know if you refer just to NEB Facility or the whole work program, but Elisa, I mean, I would segue the question towards the NEB Facility.
Yeah, so in the work program, so each topic description begins with a specific conditions table, and there you have a specific part in the table where it is indicated if there is a specific condition regarding the legal and financial setup. When it is a lump sum topic, it is indicated. When it is a financial support to third parties as well. When it doesn't say anything, it means that it's a normal topic. But in the case of Destination 1, we have 3 lump sum topics and 1 topic that allows the possibility to have financial support to third parties.
Super. Hazel, if you want to follow up, please come in the chat or also directly. But I will now, we've exhausted the question from the Slido for the moment. And I will move a bit to some of the general questions that we also received during the registration that we were asked to address throughout this session. So the first one is from Marlene from El Salvador, and the question links to the main topics in the NEB facility that are available for third countries, for what's the eligibility linked to the third countries in relation to the NEB facility?
Yeah, so basically applicants eligible for Horizon Europe funding include those of EU member states, those of countries that are associated to the program, and those from low to middle income countries that are listed. So we can share in the chat the link with this list of low to middle income countries. And in these low to middle income countries includes countries such as El Salvador. Now, what is also important to bear in mind is that most Horizon Europe calls are also open to participants from non-associated countries and international organizations, unless specific limitations or conditions are laid down in the work program and or in the call or in the topic text. But we can put in the chat the document with all these details so that it's easier for you to find.
We'll do that. I'll do that. We have so Olesia from Ukraine, going back a bit to the how to find partners, has a specific question on how to find partners from Ukraine. So do we have any recommendation there?
Well, it's a bit similar to the question I replied on how to find partners in general. So in the Destination European Bauhaus, we included an action to support the NEB NCPs, and this action will fund this project, NEB for All, that is now in grant agreement preparation. This project is expected to start in May. And it is intended to build the capacities of both the NEB R&I and the NEB policy NCPs, as well as support links, synergies, collaboration, and mutual learning between them. And this will include organizing a brokerage event in June, back to the official info day that we as Commission are organizing. So the date of this brokerage event, I think was put already in the chat, is on the 5th of June in the afternoon. And then, so that's one thing, the brokerage event to find partners in general, nothing specific on Ukraine. Then we have also the funding and tenders portal. As I was saying, there is a web page specific to each topic where participants, which is called Partner Search. And in this section, interested organizations can express their interest in finding partners. And then there is also the NEB website, which includes information on the New Urban Bauhaus community. Again, as I was saying, this is not a specific tool to search for partners, but it can be useful as a resource to find NEB-minded organizations. And something that we've been in contact with for DGRTD is to see if we can, I mean, the Horizon Europe office in Kiev is organizing or would like to organize an info session to Ukrainian stakeholders on this Work Program 25. It's not been confirmed yet, but we are looking at that possibility as well. If that goes ahead, then of course there will be a dedicated info event organized by the Horizon Europe office in Kiev. So there you could also look at what opportunities they could also see as well for Ukraine.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Going back to, again, the topics, but not directly connected to it. So Hazel asked us something on the results dissemination and sharing of good practices between the projects. She indicated that there's a lack of understanding of how the NEB results hub will work, which is probably something that is more general since the project only recently started and there is not a lot of information available. Can you update us on this a bit, Elisa, please?
Yeah. Basically, this NEB hub this NEB hub, that was an action. I mean, that will be the result of an action that we included in the destination European Bauhaus, which was part of the Horizon Europe Work Program 2024, so last year. So this action or this topic was to set up a NEB hub for results and impact, which is intended to collect knowledge from new urban Bauhaus projects and actions and make it accessible in a user-friendly way to a range of stakeholders. Now, of course, this topic is from last year, so it took some time to do the evaluation, to award the project and to contract the project. So it's probably unclear to external stakeholders what this project will deliver because it's in early stages. But of course, there will be, if you want to have a look at the topic text that we published last year, that can give you a detailed explanation of what the action is intended to propose and what we include in or to deliver. And what we included in each topic for destination for destination 1 in Work Program 25 is that all topics under the NEB facility, part of the work program, are expected to dedicate this 2% that I was explaining at the beginning. So 2% of their project budget to share intermediate and final results and findings with the NEB hub. And by sharing, I'm not speaking, and I want to insist on this to avoid any misunderstanding. It's not about transferring this budget, but to foresee actions and budget costs for the sharing of intermediate and final results. But again, there will be more information on the NEB hub and what it's actually doing and how it will be delivering on its actions as the project progresses. So far, the most reliable source of information, I would say, would be to look at the topic to understand what we were asking from this project.
Thank you. I have a few questions to dive into the topics a bit, and we still have 13 minutes to address this. So I will, Elisa, I will just dive in. If I'm getting too nosy, stop me there. Huh? But with the topic 1 on participation, so participation 01, why the choice of common spaces instead of public spaces?
Yes, I didn't speak much about that, but when I was doing the presentation on this topic I wanted to already point out to this. So the idea is that common spaces is a wider term that covers also not only public spaces, because public spaces are publics in the common realm, but with common spaces, the idea is to really also for this topic to really cover also semi-public or private places that are, despite the fact that they are not publicly owned, they are accessible by all. So, but again, I would insist on having a look at the definition that we provided, because we had already foreseen that this could be a tricky point, and that's why that is why we included it in the glossary. So there is a definition that you as NCPs, but also applicants can have a look at to really be sure of the understanding that we have for common space. So really it's going beyond public spaces, but also looking at semi-public or private places that are still accessible.
Very clear. I will dig further. What do you mean by the effects of design, aesthetics, and other features on common spaces?
Well, because the topic covers different aspects of common spaces that may have an impact on inhabitants and communities in neighborhoods. And actually, if you look at the different parts of the topic, so the scope and the expected outcomes, there you get an overview of what the different dimensions of the topic, the different dimensions that the topic is covering. So design and aesthetics, but also other relevant dimensions, such as maintenance, such as degradation of the bordering environment, such as the preservation of cultural heritage, etc. So the different aspects are, covered all throughout the text in the different parts.
And is there a minimum or indicative number of common space projects that need to be studied in that sense?
No, really, the topic does not provide a minimum or indicative number of common space projects to be studied, because this will depend on the concept and approach of each proposal. However, something that I would like to insist on, the topic specifies that proposals are expected to study a range of common space projects in at least 3 EU member states or associated countries, collecting data and drawing on evidence to better understand a set of points that are then explained in the topic text.
Okay, super clear. Colleagues, any more questions? Not for the moment, so I have more. But I move to the second topic. So in participation 02, in the expected outcomes, the topic reads increased neighborhood inhabitants' sense of belonging, as well as their collective engagement and ownership. Does this mean that sense of belonging, collective engagement, and ownership should be increased for both inhabitants and stakeholders, or is ownership the only dimension that should be increased for both, meaning inhabitants and stakeholders?
So yeah, maybe a bit of clarity on this wording. So the expected outcome refers to increase the neighborhood's inhabitants' sense of belonging, collective engagement, and ownership, and then to also increase the ownership of stakeholders.
Thank you. Going back to the chat, we have Hazel asking, some countries such as Canada and New Zealand, heavily associated to Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe. Is the NEB facility work program part of Pillar 2, and hence can New Zealand and Canada receive funding?
Yeah, basically the NEB part of the Horizon Europe work program is under Pillar 2. So in Pillar 2, the main work program, you have the 6 clusters, you have the missions, and then you have now the NEB facility annex. So indeed, that's part of Pillar 2. And it's so the NEB facility topics, when it comes to international participation, respond to the rules that apply to Pillar 2.
Thank you. And then going back to participation 02 topic, do the 3 methods or strategies to foster and maintain the social fabric need to involve cultural participation?
So yeah, maybe I would like to, in this case, go to through the different points that can provide a more comprehensive answer to this question. So the topic aims to study, first, the topic aims to study the interplay between cultural participation, social connections, and civic engagement. Then the first bullet point in the scope requires proposals to study the conditions under which cultural participation may reinforce the social fabric. And the second bullet point requires that the 3 methods or strategies are guided by evidence. Therefore, it can be concluded that indeed the 3 methods or strategies need to be guided by the evidence collected.
Thank you for a very succinct explanation. Moving to the third topic, does the demonstration of street furniture need to take place in different neighborhoods?
Yes, here I can as well provide some nuance. So yes, the demonstration of the street furniture needs to take place in different neighborhoods. However, something to clarify, this does not mean that the same sets of street furniture need to be demonstrated in different neighborhoods. So as indicated in the topic text, the sets of street furniture need to be tailored to the local conditions and specificities. They need to strengthen the aesthetic and cultural integrity of the history of the common space and the neighborhoods, and they need to meet the needs of the different population groups.
Okay, sounds interesting. if I would be able to do the street furniture. No, bad joke. Do the prototypes need to be harmonized to be replicated across the territories? So similar question, but a bit different.
Yeah, similar question, but different. Yeah, so the topic does not require the sets of street furniture to be harmonized across different territories. And as I was mentioning, the sets of the topic test indicates that the sets of street furniture need to be tailored to the local conditions and specificities, the same parts. I'm just reading part of the text. They need to strengthen the aesthetic and cultural integrity of the history of the common space and the neighborhoods, and they need to meet the needs of the different population groups. In this specific case, the topic test requires to produce recommendations to inform procurement processes for street furniture. So it's really up to the proposals to define the best approach to address this.
Thank you. And one specific detail about the project: is there a minimum or a maximum amount to be allocated by the project to FSPT as a whole, not per single third party?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because that allows me to wrap up a bit on this financial support to third parties. I could see we had also some questions about it before. So financial, again, to complement, financial support to third parties is an option in this topic. So it's not a requirement. It's up to the proposals to decide whether they want or not to use financial support to third parties. If they decide to use financial support to third parties, then the maximum amount to be granted to each third party is 100,000 euros to allow for the prototyping and demonstration of the innovative designs. However, and that's coming back to the original question, there is not a minimum or maximum percentage of the total budget of the project that would need to be allocated to the financial support for third parties if in the case that proposals choose that option. So those proposals, if they choose financial support to third parties, they need to explain it in the proposal, but they do not have a specific percentage of the total project budget to be allocated to it.
Okay, thank you. And we have the fourth topic left. The first question I have for you, does this topic cover gentrification not linked to NEB?
Okay, that's also a good question. So this topic focuses on mitigating the negative consequences of gentrification, and that, as I was explaining, including green gentrification, that may result from interventions aligned with the new Bauhaus. Now, so the focus is, I will repeat it again, on mitigating the negative consequences of gentrification that may result from interventions aligned with the new Bauhaus. But of course, the topic foresees mapping, identification, and understanding of aspects related to gentrification in more general terms, and its application to gentrification by mitigating negative consequences connected to the integration of NEB in interventions, strategies, policies. So I hope I made it a bit clear. If not, I can come back to this.
Thank you. We are back at Slido, and we got a question: can a NEB lab or a NEB Lighthouse demonstrator be used as demonstration case for the topics?
I'm not sure I fully follow the question, because the NEB Lighthouse demonstrators, they were projects resulting from a call. And here we're proposing specific topics. So there is one only, I wouldn't know, I wouldn't see the link. So it really depends on the proposal, what they want to reply. Now, again, going back to this question about demonstration or not, there is only topic 3 in destination 1 that requires for demonstration. The other topics may, topics 1 and 2 focus on collecting data, evidence, testing some strategies, and coordination and support action is more actions that support. So it really, I mean, I wouldn't exclude any option, but this question for me, it's too general to be able to reply, because NEB Lighthouse demonstrators were designed to reply to specific topic. So if the same places want to be used for another topic, then they need to, the proposal needs to meet the requirements of the topic text. So it's, yeah, and I'm not sure I fully, yeah.
Okay, so whoever asked that question, maybe you come in either in chat or even directly to explain maybe the context. And in the meantime, we move to the second question we received on Slido. So on 03 topic, what do you mean with environmental performance of street furniture?
Yeah, can I, so there's, in the scope, there is the first bullet point with the second sub-bullet that indicates that innovative designs need to improve the environmental performance of street furniture and, where relevant, integrate nature-based solutions, sustainable secondary bio-based recycle or upcycle materials, as well as digital dimension. When it comes to environmental performance, is what role they can also play in contributing to the environmental dimension of neighborhoods. So if, for instance, we give there the possibility or the example, if relevant, to integrate nature-based solutions, in that case, with nature-based solutions, they would, street furniture would be giving back to nature. So that's a bit the dimension. So they are elements that are in the streets and they can have an environmental performance that can be improved. But again, that depends on the concept of the proposals, of course.
It's always contextualized within a specific proposal and what it aims to achieve, or the impact. And Elisa, the last two questions connected to topic 4. So does this topic focus on network of cities? And then the second question I would have for you is there a role for researchers in the topic 4?
Okay, so topic 4 is about the network of neighborhoods for innovative policies on gentrification. I'm making the difference because for the previous topic we were discussing about topic 3, so now this is topic 4. Does this topic focus on network of cities? No, as indicated in the scope, this topic supports informal networking among neighborhoods. It is expected to create a bottom-up network of neighborhoods, and it is required, the proposals are required to follow a participatory and transdisciplinary approach through the integration of different actors and disciplines. And now, whether there is or not a role for the researchers in this topic. So as you know, coordination and support actions improve cooperation on aspects that support research and innovation, such as dissemination, awareness raising, communication and networking activities, policy dialogues, mutual learning, or studies. There are different actions required by this topic 4, where researchers could contribute. However, going back to the general idea, this will depend on the concept and the approach that each proposal puts forward.
All right, Elisa, your time is up according to our agenda, but we also exhausted the questions, those that we received beforehand, and also those that came in during the session. Well, I was too quick. We have another question coming in on Slido on topic 1. So the question goes like this: is one single proposal supposed to approach all of the following: behavior, health, sense of belonging, diversity and inclusion, security, resilience, and opportunities to produce social, cultural and local economic value? Or may they choose what makes more sense within that specific proposal?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, in each topic, the text defines what is, let's say, a requirement and what is an option. When the text says proposals are expected to address all of the following and then lists, then it means that all of those points need to be addressed. When the text indicates this should include, this should means that it's an option. It is up to the proposal. So it means that, yeah, you need to have a look at each of the texts and then see what are the requirements. When it indicates this needs to be, I mean, all of these are, I mean, proposals are expected to address all of the following. It means indeed it needs to cover all of it. If it's should, then it's giving an option. Should or may, then it's an option.
Okay, careful reading is also a super important skill for project applications. But with this, now we actually exhausted the list of questions. Lisa, thank you very, very much for the presentations and addressing the topics. Elisa will need to leave before the end of the session. So if you have any questions for her still, do use the time while she's still here. You can also write her directly over the chat if you want, or add the question to the chat, and we can go back to the questions after we finish the next presentation. So Elisa, thanks a lot, and I invite my colleague Emily to join me on the virtual floor of WebEx. Emily will present you the calls under Destination 2, and then also address the questions related to the Destination 2. So just let me remove this, and Elisa, I invite you, sorry, Elisa, Emily, I invite you and give you the floor to present the Destination 2.
Thank you, Barut. Hi, good morning, everyone. So yeah, now jumping into Destination 2, I'll first give you a broad overview of the Destination 2 in Work Program 25. And yeah, you can move to the next slide, Barut, and explain a bit what are the overall objectives of Destination 2. So Destination 2 focuses more specifically on the physical dimension of neighborhoods and on the built environment, as the name indicates. And more specifically, it aims at developing a circular and regenerative construction ecosystem. And it aims to do that mainly in two ways. First, by developing innovative construction materials and products or those that already exist. And second, by developing new designs, architectural approaches, and construction methods that contribute to the durability, the resource and energy efficiency of the built environment, and also to the restoration of its surrounding ecosystems. And in line with the New Urban Bauhaus values, as much as possible, the solutions developed in Destination 2 should be user-centered and place-based, and they should also connect with local cultural identity, historical and vernacular knowledge, and cultural heritage. And in Work Program 25, we foresee, as you can see on the slide, 4 topics for Destination 2. Again, as in Destination 1, all of those topics in the destination include standard sentences, which are the same as in Destination 1. So we have the one on participatory and transdisciplinary approach, the standard sentence also about the need for projects to share their intermediate and final results and finding with the New Urban Bauhaus Hub for results and impact. And then the sentence on SSH, but here may be important to flag that we didn't include that sentence in all of the topics in Destination 2, conversely to Destination 1, just because it wasn't relevant for all of them, actually just for one of them, which is the one on biofabricated materials. So with that, I'm gonna jump into the topics. So Barut, we can move to the next slide to present the first topic on applying regenerative design to the built environment in neighborhoods. So this is an innovation action. We expect the project to reach a technology readiness level of 6 to 8 by the end of the project. The budget, the total indicative budget is 8 million euros, and we expect to fund 2 projects with that budget. As in Destination 1, the deadline is 12th of November 2025, and yeah, again, this is the same. It's the same deadline for all of the topics, and here we also foresee. If proposals want financial support to third parties with a maximum of 60,000 euros per third party. So we can move to the next slide. Thank you. So now why we decided to have this topic in the work program, it's because regeneration is very important to the New Urban Bauhaus. It's actually really at its core, and it's, if you are familiar with the New Urban Bauhaus Compass, which is a document that we published some time ago, and which describes the 3 values of the New Urban Bauhaus and also their level of ambition. Regeneration is actually the 3rd level of ambition of the sustainability value. So this is why we wanted to have this topic, which focuses on better understanding of regenerative designs applied to the built environment and about implementing regenerative design in the built environment. So there are 3 expected outcomes for this project. The first one focuses on providing the construction ecosystem actors with tested and proven principles of regenerative design. So the idea behind this outcome is really to make the construction ecosystem actors better aware of the added value of regenerative design so that their use can be more generalized and mainstreamed. Then the second outcome is about having tools and technologies available to apply regenerative design to the built environment. Again, still with this idea of mainstreaming and facilitating the application of regenerative design in the built environment. And finally, the third expected outcome relates to the application of regenerative to the built environment to regenerate ecosystems and biodiversity, which in turn benefits human health and well-being. There are 2 main requirements for the proposals. So first, the project will have to analyze at least 10 existing examples of regenerative designs applied to buildings, either buildings are being built or buildings are being renovated. So that means studying their success factors, the challenges that they face, their impacts, assessing and measuring how much they are contributing to the restoration of the environment. And we also want the projects to measure the sustainability performance of the buildings using existing sustainable building assessment methods, such as levels or the living community challenge, for instance. Those are only examples. It's really open to other assessment methods that exist and that could be relevant. So those 10 examples, they should be located in diverse contexts, so be it geographical, environmental, social, economic context, but we really want to have a diversity there. They should also be example where the building generate renewable energy that meets its own energy demands. Also, what's important is that the example should have used collaborative and inclusive approaches to engage local communities and inhabitants. So really, again, in line with the European Bauhaus, participatory approach and really citizen engagement. And finally, we would also expect those examples to have overcome legislative and regulatory barriers, if there were any. And then the second requirement is that the projects will have to develop and demonstrate at least one innovative solution, so a tool or a technology that facilitates the application of regenerative design to the built environment. And this innovative solution should be demonstrated in at least 3 neighborhoods from urban, peri-urban, and rural areas located in at least 3 member states or associated countries. So that's it for the first topic. Now moving on to the second one on biofabricated materials for sustainable and beautiful construction. So again, a few technical aspects. This is a research and innovation action. We expect the project to reach a TRL level of 5 at the end of the project. The total indicative budget is 10 million euros, which would be distributed across 2 projects, so each one receiving approximately 5 million euros. And again, the deadline is 12th of November. So we can move to the next slide. Thank you. Again, so why this topic? It's because the shift towards a sustainable and circular construction ecosystem really requires innovative and sustainable materials. And biofabricated materials hold a lot of potential to reduce their environmental impact of the built environment, but they're still very much underexplored and under-researched. So the topic aims to increase the use and acceptance of biofabricated materials in the construction ecosystems, addressing gaps such as technical challenges that they face, their high cost, or the low industry acceptance. There are two expected outcomes with this topic. So the first one focuses on ensuring a deeper understanding among construction professionals of the beneficial properties and potential of biofabricated materials in order to facilitate and broaden their acceptance and use. And the second outcome is about the mass scale production of biofabricated construction materials at competitive cost. Again, when to the scope, there are two main requirements for proposals. So the project will have to develop and test at least 2 innovative sustainable biofabricated construction materials. And these materials should have innovative features compared to current materials that are available on the market, such as durability, carbon storage, capacity to self-repair, etc. And also the materials that are being developed would have to be able to be used for interior, exterior, or structural purposes. And here I insist it's a or and not a and. So again, back to what we were saying about we have to read carefully. So we don't want one material that can be used for interior, exterior, and structural purposes. It's really either one or the other. And the materials also have to comply with the relevant EU standards and regulatory frameworks. Then for each material developed, we really expect a thorough assessment of these materials' properties, benefits, applications, but also their social, economic, and environmental impact. And the aim behind that is really to develop a better knowledge and understanding of these materials and their impacts and how they can contribute to making the built environment more sustainable. And moreover, the projects will have to study the feasibility for mass scale production, considering the use of high technological manufacturing techniques and processes. Now moving on to the third topic on sufficiency measures in the built environment. This is again a research and innovation action. We expect the project to reach technology readiness level 5 by the end of the project. The total indicative budget is 8 million euros, and we expect to fund 2 projects with this budget, and same deadline, 12th of November. So now moving on to the next slide. Why we have this topic is because the built environment requires sustainable approaches that address overconsumption of resources and spatial inefficiencies. And sufficiency practices can lead to a reduced demand for energy, materials, land, water, and in general, natural resources. Because of course, if you're not building new, you're using what is there, so you limit the use of resources, raw materials, etc. So sufficiency measures really offer an interesting avenue to make the built environment more sustainable, more circular, but also more affordable. And so that they can also help contributing to addressing social issues such as housing shortages, which is quite high on the agenda of the new European Commission. There are 3 expected outcomes for this topic. So the first one focuses on the vacant and underutilized spaces in buildings, allowing for better decision making. Then the second outcome is about ensuring that the built environment actors better understand sufficiency measures, their non-technical barriers, as well as their environmental, economic, and social impacts. And the final and third expected outcome relates to the reduction of resources used by the built environment while expanding the lifespan of existing buildings, thanks to validated sufficiency measures. Now, when it comes to the requirements for proposals, first, projects will have to test and validate an approach to map and quantify vacant and underutilized spaces with high sufficiency potential. Then second, they will have to test and validate at least 2 sufficiency measures that optimize, repurpose, or expand the use and functionality of space in at least 3 neighborhoods, again, in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas located in at least 3 member states or associated countries. And projects will also have to quantify how much the measures that propose contribute to an absolute reduction in demand for floor space and resources. And finally, the projects will have to propose and validate solutions to overcome the non-technical barriers in the built environments towards efficiency measures. So regulatory barriers or acceptance, for instance. And finally, the last topic on innovative approaches for sustainable, inclusive, and beautiful social and affordable housing. This is an innovation action with an expected TRL level of 6 to 8 by the end of the project. The total budget is 16 million euros, and we expect to fund 2 projects. This topic also foresee potentially and again also with a 60,000 euros per third party, and deadline again is 12th of November. And before maybe jumping into the content of the topic, I also wanted to clarify that social and affordable housing also includes other types of housing, such as social care homes, elderly houses. So basically, what we mean by that is really all forms of inclusive housing with a residential function that is complemented with social welfare. And why we decided to have this topic is because, you know, there are a lot of innovative building technologies and construction methods available on the market to make construction and renovation more sustainable. And at the same time, there are more and more regulations to make the built environment more sustainable. But these often come with a cost. And so it makes it quite challenging to apply those solutions and methods to social and affordable housing. So this topic is really about developing innovative approaches that would allow the application of those technologies and methods to social and affordable housing. There are 4 expected outcomes for this topic. The first outcome focuses on the cost reduction of both the construction and renovation of social and affordable housing without sacrificing quality, because of course that's the whole point of having quality social and affordable housing. Then the second outcome is about having more affordable and quality housing available for diverse and vulnerable populations across Europe. The third expected outcomes relates to making affordable and social housing more sustainable by reducing their energy consumption, their carbon emission, their resource use, and also to improve their adaptability and resilience against climate change. And finally, the fourth expected outcome is about making the construction ecosystem actors better aware of innovative approaches that would allow to increase the affordability and sustainability of those types of housing. In terms of requirements for the proposals, the projects will have to develop innovative approaches for the construction of new buildings and the renovation or retrofitting of existing buildings in the social and affordable housing sector, building on, as I was saying, existing technologies and methods that are already on the market. So projects will have to implement in 2 social and affordable housing projects 2 ambitious packages of measures. So one package of measures has to be applied to a new construction project, and the other package of measures needs to be applied to a project of building renovation or retrofitting. And each package will have to first use existing technologies or methods that improve the efficiency and speed of construction and renovation or retrofitting. So it could be, for instance, off-site construction, modular building systems, etc. Then another requirement for those packages is that they have to use environmentally sustainable practices, really with the aim of making buildings more sustainable and resilient to climate change and also human-made hazards. The third requirement for this package is to ensure that social and affordable housing is aesthetically pleasing and contributes positively to the landscape of the place where it is located, while also respecting local context and the architectural heritage. Then the fourth requirement for the package is that those measures will have to improve the well-being, the inclusion, and the general living conditions of all the inhabitants of these buildings. And then only for the project of renovation or retrofitting, we would also expect the package and the measures to find ways to minimize and mitigate, when possible, the disruptions for residents and also improve the accessibility of buildings. So with that, I am done with the presentation of the 4 topics of Destination 2 in the work program 25. So now happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Emily. We got a few questions while you were still presenting, so I suggest we start with those ones. And let's start with the first one. Which executive agency will be evaluating the proposals?
So that's the same executive agency is responsible for the whole R&I part of the NEB facility, and it's CINEA. And it was also them who were responsible for the evaluation of the NEB destination goals. So they're, by now, I think they're quite experienced with evaluating NEB proposals.
All right, so with that one off the table, we go first to the topic 1. So region 1, the question goes, you see the 2 questions, the 2 top questions are actually connected. They link to demonstrating innovative solutions and where they need to be demonstrated, and whether the same one you can choose the same area, either urban, peri-urban, or rural, and whether also you need to demonstrate each of the solutions in each of the areas or not. But please, Emily, if you can address these 2 questions together.
So no, here and again, it's if you read the text, we really wrote 3 neighborhoods in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. So we really expect the demonstration to happen in 3 neighborhoods coming from those 3 different areas. And yeah, the idea is that we really want to test and demonstrate solutions in different contexts. So this is very important. Yes, I lost the screen sharing, so I cannot see the questions on Slido anymore.
I think we've lost Borut, it seems. I think that's why.
Yeah,
I think so too, guys. Our anchor in times of need.
Yes.
Apologies.
You're back.
Connection dropped or something. I'll just give me a second. I'll be sharing the Slido screen immediately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what happens with the strike. Everybody's working from home.
Well, at least we have power. But yeah, so we really expect the demonstration in neighborhoods from the 3 contexts and in 3 member states or associated countries.
Emily, I guess you answered both questions, right? While I was away.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Then we would move to the next one, which is linked to the 3rd topic. And the question is, could you give more explanation on the concept social life cycle assessment, SLCA, or some references for better understanding, as this is not a quite spread concept in R&D projects?
Well, maybe just I'll start by saying that those are examples of approaches, because the point is really that we want projects to measure and assess the impacts of the biofabricated materials, and those were examples of approaches that projects may use. Well, maybe I won't go much into details here, but happy also to to give you some more precise indication on those approaches in return. But the social life cycle assessment is a method used to assess the social and socioeconomic impacts of products and services through their entire life cycle. And the life cycle, so, and I mean, it's quite, you can really find information. Those are really, I would say, agreed measurement approaches. So yeah, but happy to provide you with more background information. But as I said, it's an example that we included to give proposal an indication of what approaches they could use to measure and assess the economic and social impacts of the biofabricated materials.
But if I may, I will just add to the question here, Emily. So, but who is then how the choice of the tool should be then made?
That's really up to the proposal.
Okay. Thank you. We go to the next question, which says, how do you envisage the link connection between the objective test and validate an approach to map and quantify vacant and underutilized spaces with the remaining objectives of the topic? It seems a bit of a standalone objective comprising not really being cohesive with the rest of the topic text.
Yes, I see the point, but why we decided to have that is that it's because, well, the reasoning behind this topic is that there is really a need for more research on sufficiency applied to the built environment. And one of the big needs that was identified by some reports is that we need to have approaches to map and identify those underutilized space and vacant spaces. And so, yeah, since the topic is really about finding ways and developing ways to apply sufficiency measures, we thought it was important to also include that requirement on developing approach to map and quantify vacant and underutilized space, because it's really key if you want then to be able to apply sufficiency measures to the built environment.
Understood. And then the last one from Slido. So again, I guess with the topic 4, ensure that social and affordable housing is aesthetically pleasing and contributes positively to the environment and so on and so forth. How are applicants to ensure this? The topic focuses on a set of measures applied to social housing projects or on developing a project for social housing.
So it's about developing measures to apply to an existing project for social housing. And when it comes to ensuring the aesthetically pleasing aspect, again, that's really up to the proposal, but it has to do with this aspect where we want the social and affordable housing to be qualitative, and also, yeah, so that includes also, you know, the beauty aspect, which is one of the Newton Bauhaus value.
All right, and then we go back to the question about the number of demonstrations. Apologies. It's not clear from your reply whether it's 1 demonstration per 3 areas, each located in a different country, or is it 3 demonstrations per 3 areas, resulting in having 9 demonstrations altogether?
So it would be the first one. So 1 demonstration per area type, each located in a different country.
Thanks. And
so,
please, please
yeah.
continue.
So that would be in the case where we ask for one demonstration. If we ask for instance, 2 solutions to be demonstrated, then that would be 6. I hope I'm not confusing people even more.
Let's see. We'll see if the question comes in or a comment in the chat. But Elisa, you want to also add something in relation to demonstrations in Destination 1? Please come in.
Yeah, because I see that these demonstrations are also receiving questions. So just for Destination 1, I think I mentioned that only topic 3 requires demonstration, but it's actually topic 2 and 3. But then again, I would refer back to the text of each topic. But indeed, in Destination 1, it's topic 2 and 3 that require demonstration. Just a quick clarification, because I see that this question on demonstration keeps on coming back.
Thank you. Just give me a second, Emily, to mute some of the participants. But now we exhausted the questions at Slido, and we have some other questions that we would like to address that we received during the registration. Emily, Matthew is asking about other NEB relevant topics in other clusters and missions. Elisa mentioned it already with having topics as such. Would you have something to add here? That the topics are contributing to the implementation of the NEB initiative in general, not specifically the NEB facility. We established that, but maybe you also have something to add here when it comes to NEB relevant topics in other clusters and missions.
Yes. So again, maybe important to start by saying that now we are still working based on the pre-published work program 25. So things may still change a bit, and we'll have a final view when the work program is formally adopted. But according to the pre-published version of the work program 25, we identified 12 topics that are relevant to the NEB Bauhaus, and those topics were flagged as NEB Bauhaus relevant. So that means that if you go on the funding and tender portal, you'll be able to find those topics quite easily by using the filters. So we identify NEB relevant topic in cluster 2, where there is one topic relevant to NEB, in cluster 4, where there are 2 topics relevant to NEB, in cluster 6 too, where there are 6 topics relevant to NEB, and then in the missions work program, where in total, in all the missions, there are 3 topics that are relevant to NEB. So I hope this answered the question.
Yeah, it does, and it will definitely be completely clear once the work program is officially adopted, and then we can also share that information with the NCPs as well. One more question during the registration that we got is how to address the questions from potential applicants on synergies between the R&I and rollout component in the context, then specifically in the context of the calls published in Horizon Europe, so the NEB facility topics published in Horizon Europe work program. How does this link, if there's any link?
Well, there I think it's important to refer again to this NEB for All project, which Elisa mentioned a few times, because yeah, these projects will really be supporting the R&I NCPs and the policy NCPs to collaborate, work together, to learn from each other, etc. And so yeah, then when it comes specifically to the R&I topics, you know, we expect really the 2 networks to be in touch, to collaborate. So for instance, if a potential applicant reaches out to the police, would have to redirect the potential applicant to the R&I NCP, and this really requires close collaboration between the 2 networks.
Thank you. Well, yeah, just to add, from my side because I'm also the contact person. I work with the NEB Policy NCPs. The project, of course, offers the primary platform for developing the collaboration between both configuration of NCPs, but then it's also a bit of an uncharted territory. So whichever feedback you might have or proposal, or you notice something that is not working in these relationships between the two NCP configurations, please, we would appreciate if you give us feedback, if you reach out to us to point out stuff that is not working or some things that are working. That will be highly appreciated. And maybe just to add 2 sentences, because I don't know if we explained in the beginning and not everybody know the 2 configuration of national contact points. While of course you all know how the Horizon Europe national contact point system works, European Bauhaus has another configuration which we call NEB policy national contact points. But in addition to the content differences and the task differences between the NCPs, the NEB policy NCPs only exist in the EU member states, not beyond. So if you never heard of them, there's also probably a reason, because they do not exist in your country. At the moment. But yeah, this collaboration will definitely be important for the future, and we are also paying close attention to how it will develop in the future. But Emily, back to you. On the third topic, a question on the Slido. Sufficiency measures seek to optimize the use of existing spaces, so vacant or underutilized. The scope, is this the scope only for vacant and underutilized spaces, or it goes beyond these 2 categories?
Well, if I read the bullet point, it states test and validate at least 2 sufficiency measures that optimize for purpose, expand the use and functionality of space. So there we didn't specify that it's only focus on vacant and underutilized spaces. But I mean, I just think it would make more sense, because vacant and underutilized space are the ones that are the more in need of sufficiency measures. But no, it's, if you take the text, it is not only for those spaces.
Okay, then that's very clear. And we also reached, we have exhausted the question, and we also reached the designated time for your presentation, Emily. Thank you very, very much to you as well for first succinct and in-depth, but still in-depth presentation of the 4 topics, and then replying to the questions. Dear colleagues, dear participants of the training, we reached the break point, but not breaking, just that we will have a break. It was planned between 11:20 and 11:30, so being a bit late, let's call it that we are back at 11:35. Back in the virtual classroom. Have a good break, and I see you in 13 minutes.
Thank you, Barut.
Welcome back, everyone. We have two more sessions, two more bulks of presentations left. One is linked, of course, to the destination 3 of the NEB facility, and then we will move into organization of work. First, to present and discuss the research inquiry service usage when it's linked to the NEB facility, then how to contact us, and we will have still time for general Q&As at the end to address anything that we missed or something that might have popped as a question or a comment, or it's not was not clarified enough by us during the presentations. But enough me speaking. I would like to invite my colleague Sophia to take the floor to present the third destination and the topics underneath. Please, Sophia, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Borut, and welcome everyone back from the break. Yeah, so we have destination 3, the last destination remaining under the NEB facility, and I'd like to give you also an overview here of what the destination, what its main objectives are, and then the topics that it includes. So destination 3 explores innovative funding and new business models that can support the transformation of neighborhoods. And it aims to do this by, first of all, understanding what are the barriers and drivers for NEB projects in the built environment within neighborhoods. Based on that, then leveraging appropriate market conditions and demonstrating what is the feasibility, the long-term sustainability, but also the competitiveness that NEB projects and solutions can have within neighborhoods and the built environment. And then finally, also, this destination seeks to foster R&I activities to attract investment to NEB projects through returns and incentives that go beyond financial capital only. So here, including environmental, aesthetic, cultural, but also the social value of NEB projects and solutions. So this destination has 3 topics in 2025. And also here a note, similar to the other 2 destinations, all the topics and destination 3 include the paragraph which encourages proposals to follow a participatory and transdisciplinary approach. So here encouraging them to integrate different relevant actors and disciplines. Where relevant, some of the topics, or 2 of the topics, include a paragraph encouraging specifically the contribution of SSH, so social sciences and humanities actors and disciplines. And all the topics include also the sentence, as for the other 2 destinations, on the expected contribution of at least 2% of the project's budget to the NEB hub for results and impact. So diving into the first topic of destination 3, on renovating the built environment through design for adaptability and disassembly. This is an innovation action with an indicative total budget of 12 million and expects to fund 2 projects. The deadline is the 12th of November 2025, and this is a lump sum topic. So why did we include this topic, and why is it relevant? It looks at prioritizing reuse and renovation in the existing built environment. So the built environment is one of the main sectors responsible for carbon emissions and waste. And in that context, reuse and renovation can be sustainable and circular by reducing raw material and energy use and carbon emissions, but also contribute to maintaining the social and cultural value of existing buildings and spaces. And this topic addresses the research need, or the gap, that approaches based on designed for adaptability and disassembly. They've focused on new construction so far because it's easier to adapt and repurpose a building or space that has been designed to be disassembled and reassembled from the outset. but most buildings and spaces in the built environment have already been built, so they require now to be adapted to new and updated uses and functions. So that's where this topic focus comes in, to tackle this research need to understand how the concept of design for adaptability in disassembly can be applied also to the renovation of existing buildings and spaces. So in that sense, this topic has three main expected outcomes. The first one is exactly this increased sustainable and inclusive renovation of existing buildings and common spaces and or infrastructures based on design for adaptability and disassembly. Then also processes, methods and or techniques that can enable the modular adaptation and repurposing. And here the idea is that these solutions build on and consider historical knowledge and assessments of the past, but also the present conditions and the functions of the targeted buildings, common spaces and infrastructures to inform robust renovation strategies. And the last expected outcome is that public authorities, investors, construction project owners and developers, but also actors from the neighborhoods have access to scientific evidence of the different impacts, so the ranging from the economic, environmental, but also social and regulatory impacts, and that they understand what is the business case to use design for adaptability and disassembly for renovation compared to conventional renovation processes. Under the scope of this topic, proposals are, proposals are expected to develop at least 2 renovation processes, methods, and or techniques based on design for adaptability and disassembly that allow buildings, spaces, and infrastructures to be renovated and repurposed with minimal usage disruption. Then also demonstrate these solutions in at least 2 pilots in at least 2 member states or associated countries. And here, at least 1 pilot to target a building, and at least 1 pilot to target an existing common space and or an infrastructure. Proposals are also expected to assess the barriers to the market uptake of these solutions compared to conventional renovation, and based on that, propose solutions to overcome these barriers. Also quantify, wherever possible, the different impacts. So like I mentioned, the environmental, economic, social, and other impacts that these solutions may have, considering their local context within the neighborhood. And proposals should also build on indicators included in the EU framework for sustainable buildings called levels. So that's for topic 1. Then the second topic is on bottom-up social entrepreneurship for the co-creation of neighborhoods in line with the new European Bauhaus. This is an innovation action with an indicative total budget of 12 million. The number of expected projects to be funded is 3 projects. The deadline is also here, the 12th of November 2025, and it's also a lump sum topic. So this topic departs from the understanding that social enterprises and social entrepreneurship are established concepts, but we still need research to understand the various aspects and impacts of how bottom-up social entrepreneurship can contribute to the co-creation of neighborhoods together with inhabitants. So the idea is that bottom-up social entrepreneurship can contribute to the transformation of neighborhoods by integrating the 3 NEB values and adopting a very place-based approach and focus. So this topic has 3 expected outcomes. The first one being new scientific evidence of how bottom-up social entrepreneurship can shape and contribute to the co-creation of neighborhoods in line with the NEB values. Then also that inhabitants, and especially considering marginalized and vulnerable groups in neighborhoods and also civil society actors, can share knowledge and experiences and build their shared capacity to cooperate and actively engage in bottom-up social entrepreneurship initiatives. And the third expected outcome is that bottom-up social entrepreneurship can contribute to increasing inhabitants' quality of life and well-being, fostering social cohesion and creating new economic and employment opportunities in neighborhoods. Under the scope, proposals are expected to deliver at least 3 bottom-up social entrepreneurship pilots in at least 3 member states or associated countries. They're also expected to analyze for each of these pilots the local social, cultural, economic, and also legal and other barriers and drivers, and how, so barriers and drivers to these social entrepreneurship pilots, and how this can shape and influence the market uptake and competitiveness of these enterprises and initiatives in the market. Proposals are also expected to assess for each of the pilots the business case and the potential for these enterprises and initiatives to create impact at the local level and also attract impact investment opportunities. Then also demonstrate how cooperations between inhabitants and civil society actors can foster, like I mentioned before, this exchange of knowledge and experiences and help build the capacity of inhabitants to engage in bottom-up social entrepreneurship. And these so-called cooperations, so the coming together of inhabitants, should take into consideration the place-based specificities of the neighborhood or the local level, and also be grounded in strong public-private partnerships. So here including also grassroots associations and actors, public authorities, but also small local businesses and the social economy and so on. Proposals are also expected to then demonstrate how bottom-up social entrepreneurship can increase the quality of life and well-being and social cohesion and sense of belonging in neighborhoods, and finally assess how this knowledge and evidence can impact for future co-creation and decision-making in the development of neighborhoods in line with the NEB. And then the last topic, the third topic on Destination 3, is on reverse local construction supply chains for the beautiful reassembly of reclaimed construction products. This is a research and innovation action with a total indicative budget of 12 million and expecting to fund 3 projects. The deadline also here is the 12th of November 2025, and this is also a lump sum topic. So this topic is also within the context of this move and the priority to move towards renovation and greater reuse in the built environment. It departs from an acknowledgement that most of the focus, research and innovation focus so far, has been on the stages of disassembly, collection, sorting, and recycling of used construction products, while we identified that there's still research needed on the later reassembly stage. And why is reassembly important here? Because reassembly is key to contribute to reintegrating this increasing amount of reclaimed resources into new applications in the built environment. And in the context of the NEB and the NEB values, looking at reassembly also has the opportunity to try and rethink how to reassemble construction products in a way that also increases the aesthetic and cultural value of the built environment. And here also is where the reverse local construction supply chains come in, because they are super important to enable the sustainable and safe reuse of construction products at the local level. This topic also has 3 main expected outcomes. The first one are innovative approaches, methods, and techniques for the safe and sustainable reassembly of construction products in ways that increase the aesthetic and cultural value, like I just mentioned. Then also here, very much the focus at increasing reassembly at the neighborhood, local, and regional level, and also creating scientific evidence on the different benefits of the social, cultural, and environmental benefits, also on potentially new business opportunities and value and revenue streams that this beautiful reassembly of construction products can create at neighborhood and local level. Under this scope, proposals are expected to explore at least one innovative approach, method, or technique for reassembly in a way that increases or at least maintains the embedded economic and environmental value of the construction products that are being used, and then also contributes to this aesthetic value of the built environment more broadly. And here the idea is that proposals research and look into possibly existing aesthetic and cultural standards that exist in the built environment, and how reassembly can interact with these existing standards and principles. Then the solutions should also consider the environmental footprint, but also the availability of these construction products at neighborhood, local, and regional level. So here the idea is that the products that are reclaimed at the local level are also reused and reassembled at the local level. In that sense, projects should build wherever possible on existing circular construction product pooling networks, platforms, but also hubs and informal markets for reclaimed products. And finally, validate how the solution or the solutions can create new value, revenue streams, and business opportunities. And here, also building very much on existing research in the field. So yeah, that was an overview of the 3 topics in Destination 3. And if you have any clarification questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Sophia. We are opening the Slido. Currently no questions there yet, so I will refer to the ones that we received during the registration. So something on how for-profit business can be involved, large and small. The comment was, I see quite a few architectural firms inquiries already in my country, but we are an associated country. Does this make any difference to how they should engage or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as was mentioned earlier on by Elisa, I believe, applicants that are eligible for Horizon Europe funding, so including NEB Facility topics, include EU member states and also those countries that are associated to the Horizon Europe program. The Horizon Europe general annexes, they also have a section on eligibility, which includes a list of the associated countries, and I believe we shared that earlier on in the chat. But we also encourage you to also regularly check the Horizon Europe list of participating countries on the funding and tenders portal for up-to-date information and the position of these associated countries, because association agreements can also be signed after publication of the work program. And then also on the involvement of for-profit businesses and also and other types of institutions. As I mentioned before, all the topics, they include this paragraph encouraging proposals to adopt this participatory and transdisciplinary approach, which means that it depends on each topic and also on the proposals what kinds of businesses and institutions are relevant to be included. It's of course open for profit businesses, but yeah, it's up to each individual proposal to assess what types of actors to involve.
Thanks, Sophia, for complementing what was already answered or highlighted in the previous presentations. And in between, we got a few questions on the Slido, and I'll start with the first one, linked to the topic 1. So same type of question as before, linked to the demonstrations. So demonstrate the developed solutions in at least 2 pilots, in at least 2 member states or associated countries, or only 2 in total, as long as they comply with the requirements. Just some further clarification on this, please.
Yeah, so the minimum requirement is indeed in total 2. So at least 2 pilots in at least 2 member states, meaning that if proposals go with the minimum requirement of 2 pilots, then 1 pilot would have to be demonstrated in one member state or associated country, and the other one in another member state or associated country.
Okay, we clarified that one. Let's go into some definitions. So the first one, what is a reverse supply chain?
Yeah. Reverse supply chains, this is a concept coming very much from the circular economy context. So if we think of the usual supply chain that brings products and resources from supply and production to the end use, the reverse supply chains are the idea is that they do the opposite. So in this concept of the circular economy that brings back and reuses, recirculates resources in a closed system, reverse supply chains mean that products that may have and resources that may have already be used, they are brought back the steps of the supply chain to be reprocessed, reapplied into new applications, or recycled. So here, in this topic, the idea is that these supply chains are super important to reclaim the construction products at the local level and enable them to be reassembled in new applications.
All right, much clearer, thank you. In the context of topic 1, what does infrastructure mean and or entail in this specific context?
Yeah, so also a point here, why does this topic refer to buildings, common spaces, and infrastructures? It's from the idea that the built environment does not only constitute of buildings, and the focus should be broader than that, more holistic, to include also infrastructures that here are framed quite broadly. So again, it's open to proposals, but with common spaces and infrastructures, we mean parks, but also streets and other supporting systems within the built environment that enable it to function. Yeah, again, it's open to proposals to define what are the relevant infrastructures and systems, buildings and common spaces that they would like to focus on.
Thank you. We go back to the demonstration cases. So the question at hand is, would more demonstration cases improve the quality of the proposal? So more as in more than the minimum asked.
Yeah. Again, this depends on the individual project or proposal. It shouldn't be a criteria per se that the more demonstration cases there are, the higher the quality, because also why projects proposals are expected to focus on at least 2 pilots is that these 2 pilots should be able to provide enough quality and research in the context of the topic. But yeah, if proposals think that having more demonstration would improve the quality or the completeness of the R&I activities, then they are free to do so.
It depends on the context, but not by default. So just adding a huge number of demonstration sites does not improve the quality of the project.
Yeah.
If I may summarize it in a plain language.
Yeah.
Again, on the topic 3, the question is a certain degree on processing of the reclaimed construction products allowed before they are reassembled, or they need to be just, basically moved via the reverse supply chain and then just installed in a new site?
Yeah. If we look at the topic text, there is no requirement or specification that the construction projects need to be reassembled in the state that they are reclaimed without any processing. So, of course, this is open. Proposals are open to do so, and they are free to explore any processing required for the end objective of the beautiful reassembly, and yeah.
And you gave me a super nice segue to the next question. What is beautiful reassembly?
Yeah. So with beautiful reassembly, this connects very much to especially the NEB value of beauty. And this is very much where this topic anchors to the European Bauhaus values. And the idea is that that proposals look at existing standards in the built environment. So when we talk about reassembly, a lot of the times reassembly is only looked at from the environmental perspective. So how can reusing, reassembling products be sustainable? But there is also the dimension of how can proposals not only reassemble for the sake of circularity and sustainability, but in a way that also contributes to the cultural and aesthetic value in the built environment. And here the idea is that the proposals explore what are existing standards in the built environment and ways to rethink and increase this aesthetic value. But then again, beauty and aesthetics, they're defined in the European Bauhaus Compass, which we published some time ago and which my colleagues have mentioned already. But proposals, projects have the freedom to explore what it could mean, this beauty and aesthetics in a sense.
Thank you. I have another question. So what do you mean, or what do we mean by social and cultural meanings in the built environment?
Yeah, so the social and cultural meanings in the built environment, they connect a bit to what I just said on this aesthetic and cultural value. And it means that proposals should look at how this beautiful reassembly increases the quality of life, the well-being, but then also the social cohesion and the sense of belonging of inhabitants and actors within the built environment.
Thank you. In topic 2, when you speak about the business case, what do we mean by the business case?
Yeah. So the business case builds on what proposals are expected to look into. So looking into what are the benefits and impacts that these solutions for beautiful reassembly can create, ranging from the economic, the environmental, and the social impacts. And based on that, what is the interest and the potential of these solutions to be adopted in the market and also be competitive in the market alongside other solutions. That's what we mean here with the business case. And then also just connecting here to the possibility of these solutions to attract impact investment as well.
Okay, clear, thank you. We have another question on Slido related to the topic, the third topic. Are there specific examples of platforms or hubs mentioned here? So proposals should build, where possible, on existing circular construction product pooling networks and platforms, construction logistic hubs, as well as informal markets for reused construction products. So do we have specific examples of these kind of platforms and hubs that we can mention, share with the NCPs?
Yeah. We don't have any specific examples to mention because these also depend very much on the local context, especially considering that this topic focuses very much at the local, the regional level, and different neighborhoods, regions will have different types of hubs or platforms for the circular reuse of products. And the idea behind this point is that these sharing and construction product pooling networks and platforms, they exist already because this is very much tied to circular economy activities. And the idea is that projects should not try to set up or reinvent new platforms to recirculate the resource at the local level, but they should build on existing networks and platforms. And these can be any type of hubs where projects can source reclaimed projects at the local level to then be reassembled. So that's the idea behind this.
All right, also super clear. So we can tick off also this question, and we somehow converged on the finish time of your specific slot, Sophia, and exhausting all of the questions, which is probably an ideal situation. But Sophia will stay here with us until the end. So if you have any questions still for specifically on destination 3, please do keep the questions rolling in through any of the available channels. Sophia, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Talk to you a bit later. And it's my pleasure to invite a colleague, this time not from the new European Bauhaus unit, but from Executive Agency REA. So Sabrina Fasoli will shortly present Research Inquiry Service and how it's supposed to be used in the context of the NEB facility with the presentation that Sabina will give. Sabina, thank you for being with us, and I pass the floor to you.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the invitation. So the Research Inquiry Service, as you most probably know, you can go to next slide, please. Okay. The Research Inquiry Service is a service that is replying to a number of programs. So the research framework programs, Horizon Europe and all its predecessor, Euratom, Research for Coal and Steel, and also the research part of the European Defence Fund. On top of this, since 2018, we were entrusted with replying to questions on the validation of legal entities. So maybe you are familiar with PIC, clear, financial capacity assessment, etc. And so if the participants have a question, they can ask us for all the programs that are on the funding and tenders portal. So this is the scope of the Research Inquiry Service. In the next slide, we can see the amount of questions received under this framework program. You can see that there was a peak in 2022, and most probably there will be a peak between this year and next year due to the late publication of the work program and the publication at the end of the year of the new work program for 26-27. We always fluctuate, but we are around 10,000, 12,000 per year. That makes a lot of inquiries. Next slide, please. So I will try to explain you how the Research Inquiry Service function. This is only for your eyes, for you to understand, but bear in mind that the citizen or yourself from outside, you cannot see all the structure. It's really internal how it works. So the Research Inquiry Service is part of the Europe Direct contact center that I'm sure you've heard about it. They reply to all policy about the whole policies of the EU. And so the Research Inquiry Service is a good part of it. We represent 12% of their annual volume as a policy. And this is done via a framework contract that for the time being is managed by the European Service Network and Connectis, that are two companies. The Europe Direct Contact Center has different entry points, different web forms on the Europa portal. They have the general Europe Direct web form. They have one on passengers' rights, and there is one specific for the Research Inquiry Service, to which I will refer you later, the link, etc. So for you to understand what happens to the questions when they are submitted to the Research Inquiry Service. The external contractor can reply to some of the questions. So they can handle directly, where do I find the call, how do I search for a call, where are the documents for the call, etc., etc. Everything that is available directly on the portal, they can, funding into the portal, sorry, they can reply immediately. If they cannot reply, they can what we call escalate or forward for you to better understand the question, either to my team that is managing the whole structure, or to one of our thematic help desk. And in this case, your questions will be transferred to our NEB colleagues in JRC and CINEA. So the question is attributed based on the topic and the complexity. If the question is not about research, it's not covered by us, no worries, because Europe Direct has other cooperations with other DG, and they can reassign the question. They can reassign the question to another DG if necessary. So as I said, all this it's for your understanding, but the citizen doesn't see any of it. They send the questions and they receive a reply directly. Can you move to the next slide, please? So here you have the link. Sorry, here you have the link. The link is available from the Funding and Tender portal, from the Horizon Europe website, from Cordis, etc. Please, when you use our web form to submit your question, make sure that you select in the organization type national contact point. It's very important. Why? And I will explain in the next slide. Because when we identify that the question is coming from an NCP, we give it the utmost priority. Why? Because you are familiar with the calls, you received specific trainings, your questions are always complex. So they need to be addressed with the priority, because we know by default that it will take more time to reply. And so the main message is, don't forget to select national contact point in the organization type on the page of the Research Inquiry Service web form. The time to reply of the service itself, we can reply within 2 days when the question is basic. And then we have the 15 working days of the Code of Good Administrative Behavior to reply to questions. But to reassure you, we have more or less a global time to reply between 4 and 5 days in total. So within 1 week maximum, you will get the reply to your question whenever possible. My team is also responsible for the Q&A on the Funding and Tenders portal. So we will make sure that if a question could be useful for the others, that the colleagues, all the core coordinator transform the question into Q&A that can be published on the call page or topic page on the Funding and Tenders portal. So I try to be brief. That's my presentation, and now I'm ready for questions in case there is any question.
Thank you very much, Verena. Brief, but still super informative. We have a question from Margarida. So in order to use this, we need to consult the Funding and Tenders portal also to check the answers that we will get to the questions? Or do the NCPs that submit the question, do they get an email informing them that the answer is available on the portal? Or what happens? How do they follow up after they submit the question? Do they need to go to the portal themselves, or is there any other information circling around?
No, the person that submitted the question will receive a direct reply in his inbox, and then we will see if we publish the reply. If it can be useful for the others, we can publish it on the question and answer. But in principle, you as a person, you send a question, and you as a person, you will receive an answer, a direct answer.
And because they're NCP, there will be a priority in
Yes.
in addressing their question. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in. Maybe it's useful that we continue with the presentation explaining what happens with the question and answer that will accumulate and won't be a part of the FAQ. But Sabrina, thanks a lot for your presentation. Please stay around with us for a few minutes if possible, if any of the colleagues will have follow-up questions. And in between, we will go to the last two organization of work presentations. This one will be done by me. So first is, of course, sharing questions on topics with the rest of the NCPs. So let's say Margarita asks a question, she gets a reply. That's super useful. How do we make sure everybody gets the question and answers? Well, very simply. We will organize our workflow in the unit in a way that once per day we will share all the newly received replies, answers to the questions, to the outstanding questions, and then whatever will be added to the list of questions and answers, we will answer. We will share it with you directly via email. We are still finding the most effective way to just to build this database of questions and answers. But the most important thing in terms of accessibility of this, let's say, body of knowledge, Q&As and everything else connected to this will be available to all the NCPs on a regular basis. And we also want to take away the moment where you should be obliged by checking the portals super often, and to overcome the fact that one NCP asks and one NCP receives the question by establishing this system. We checked around with an existing NCP projects if we can incorporate that in existing projects. So the project that covers financial and legal functioning of the NCPs is unable to provide that because they cannot expand on the distribution list of NCP of persons that receive an update after they get different updates from different configurations that they work with. Then the second option was to work on this with the NEB for All project, so the project that supports the NEB policy and research and innovation, NCPs. That was not planned in the application, so it is definitely not possible during 2025. But there is willingness from the consortium to discuss this, to see if this is something that could be incorporated into the project's contribution work in 26 and 27. So that's something still to be discussed, and something that we will come back to you if there will be any changes to the system that we set up. Any questions maybe related to this? I guess not. And before I go to the question from Margarita, which is a bit off topic, just allow me to also share with you how to contact us. So with the Bauhaus unit, I am the primary contact or the secretariat for the NEB R&I NCP configuration, and my backup is Elisa. We will inform you if there will be any changes of the context, but also to avoid any pause of the work or any inconsistencies when it comes to changes in the NEB unit and how we work with you. We kindly ask you that you contact us through the functional mailbox that is written here on the slide. So it's not about us not wanting to communicate with you directly through our personal inboxes, but it's more to establish the continuity of the support service for the whole NCP configuration by using a functional mailbox. If in between you will send something to someone directly personally, of course it won't be discarded, but it might take also a bit more time to react to it. And then I open also the floor for questions regarding the whole organization of work. So the using of research inquiry service, how we plan to share the questions and answers that will be submitted and then further disseminated through RES, and then how you can always get in contact with our unit. And then while waiting if there will be any other questions coming in, we have the questions on the info day. So the question is, what will be the format of the info day, the same of today? Can there be more time allocated for Q&A for applicants? Well, Margarita, today our plan is that the recordings of the presentations of the destination 1, 2, 3 and topics under each destination would be used for the purposes of the info day. Also following the good practice that you also shared with us from other clusters, we plan to organize the info day in this way. So to provide the presentation of the topics beforehand, so before the info day, which means that we can allocate a lot more time for replying to questions related to destinations, general questions to topics during the info day. Hopefully the recording will be quality enough after this meeting that we will be able to use this. In any case, our plan is to start communicating about the info day very widely in the second half of next week. And by then we will also know the format, because we will share the preliminary agenda as well. And from Carlos, the info day for the participants on 4 June and event on 5th, they're already, no, Carlos, we haven't opened the registrations yet. We have a prep meeting with the Belgian colleagues on the brokerage event tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, we plan to launch as massive as we can do communication campaign in the second half of next week. And we also hope and count on your help in distributing the messages down the capillaries, going down to the grassroots level from the national one. All right. So I think we exhausted the questions here. We have a few more questions that were left from the registration form, the general one. And here I would like to invite Sophia, if you can just help me with some of the questions that are still on the table. And one is linked to funding and collaboration related to Cluster 6, namely Care for Bio, among other topics. So what is if I then zoom out a bit, how are the collaborations between the facility and other parts of the Horizon Europe program?
Yeah, thanks, Borut. So as our colleagues Elisa and Emily mentioned before, we have in the funding and tenders portal an European Bauhaus flag, the NEB flag, which is used by different topics. it's used both by the NEB facility topics, which are considered NEB dedicated topics, but also this NEB flag can be used by so-called NEB contributing topics that might be in other clusters or the missions in the work program. And in those cases where of NEB contributing topics that use the NEB flag, proposals, they can reflect on how to contribute to the NEB initiative and the NEB values, depending on what they're proposing and what the topic requires as well. So this includes, for example, interacting with the NEB community and other relevant actions of the NEB initiative by sharing information, best practices, but also results where relevant. And this links also with the NEB Hub for Results and Impact, which we've mentioned already before, that will exactly gather knowledge from different NEB projects and actions and make this accessible to different stakeholders.
All right. Well, with that, we also exhausted the questions that we received through the registration.
If I can just jump in, Bodo, sorry, because I saw there was a late question to Destination 3 specifically, I think.
Yeah, true. Sorry. You're right.
No worries. I think by Hazel, if I'm not mistaken. If there's anything specific we should be aware of around the package of simplification measures earlier this year on CSRD, ESG, etc., and the participation of reporting entities if they apply to NEB calls, or for example, green investors, presumably no specific considerations. I think you've sort of answered the question yourself. Indeed, there are no specific considerations or requirements in that sense for the NEB topics related to CSRD, ESG, etc. Although, projects might want to consider the different standards, especially relating to circular economy. No concrete requirements in that sense.
Thank you. Okay, there are some questions coming in the chat. So Gosha is asking us if today's presentations will be available. Yes, of course, we will share them with you, with the whole NEB R&I NCP configuration together with the recording. Benedicte wrote, you said at the start of the presentation that NEB Facility is meant to be more accessible to small players and newcomers. Are there any specific measures taken to ensure this? So at the communication and dissemination level, and then also evaluation stage. It's a general question. I think it can address all three of you, Emily, Elisa, and Sophia, and then I invite you to come in as you see fit.
I'm happy to take the question. So we try to take this into account when drafting the topics and the requirements, especially in terms of the budget and number of projects. So trying to make the budgets the budgets per project not too high, also having more lump sum topics, and also in terms of the drafting, having this standard paragraph, which we have in all the topics, encouraging participatory and transdisciplinary approaches in the sense of bringing in different actors and disciplines, especially considering smaller actors and entities that are relevant for the different topics at neighborhood level. So yeah, that's what we had in mind and what we meant with trying to make it a bit more accessible to small players and newcomers, while still within the Horizon Europe framework for the topics. But maybe Elisa, if you would like to come in on that.
Yeah, she raised her hand, so she's coming in. Thanks, Sophia. Elisa, please.
Yeah, you were explaining quite in detail, but indeed I just wanted to complement. If you look at the topics, also the text, we try to make it concise and clear and accessible. to those that are less familiar with Horizon Europe, you also see that the length of the topic text is quite, reduced. So we try to conform to a maximum of 2 pages, not to have too lengthy topics that may be more difficult to process for those less experienced. But also, I mean, for experienced entities as well. And then, but in terms of evaluation, the evaluation will be as in any Horizon Europe evaluation. So the topics will be evaluated like according to the criteria set up for Horizon Europe. So that's, I think, what I wanted to complement on.
Thank you. Elisa, was that also a part of, sorry, Margarita asked us, do the applicants need to justify in proposals how they comply, refer to, or contribute to the NEB values and principles? Whether, and the question is also, will these be specifically evaluated when the experts will evaluate project proposals? So will project proposals be evaluated on how much they align, comply, refer to, contribute to the NEB values and principles? So how will the NEB element of the project be evaluated, if there will be any specific evaluation criteria linked to the implementation of values and principles?
I think I understand the question, but so I will try to provide an answer on the basis on what I understand. So the topics, these are NEB topics. So in order proposals to be NEB, they need to address the 3 values and working principles. Otherwise, they would not be NEB. So now how they present that in their proposal, that's up to the applicants. But if you look at the topic design, the fact that we are asking for transdisciplinary and participatory approaches and that activities need to be aligned with NEB, this design of the topic is leading already the applicants to align with the NEB. Now, when it comes to the specific criteria, the evaluation will be like in all the Horizon Europe. So there are the 3 main: excellence, impact, etc. And then the evaluators will take the text as a starting point. I hope to have replied.
Yeah, we'll hear from Margarita if no. Yes, Margarita is satisfied with the reply, so I think we can tick off that one as well. Any other questions, dear colleagues? We are running a bit earlier than planned, which is not a bad thing, but it also means that we can allocate more time to discuss anything you want to discuss still. But also no worries if there is no urge or need for that. It's been 3 hours sitting behind the computer anyway, so that's also understandable. So Carlos is referring to the expert evaluators from CINEA. Do we have any feedback on that? Also due to specific skills required for this initiative and then assessing the proposals underneath. Elisa, if I can pull you out on the spotlight. But yeah, I mean, the question is whether CINEA, whether we have any information on how CINEA works with the experts that will finally form a pool of experts that will be chosen to evaluate the proposals.
Well, the process is normally like in any Horizon Europe call. So the executive agency shortlists external experts from the overall database of the EU. Where external experts that are interested apply, and then the experts are selected on the basis of each of the topics. So depending on the competences and skills, they make a selection. I think that's as much as I would say. I hope, Carlos, it's more or less what you expected, but if you have something else in mind, please come back.
In between, Hazel asked, any general commentary on the work program 25 and the place of arts, creative industries, cultural heritage along the social sciences and humanities? Should we take a lead from specific call texts about where these approaches are in focus? I must admit, I don't really understand the question, but maybe it's just me.
No, I'm not fully clear, but I would imagine that, Hazel, you refer to when when applicants can know whether social sciences and humanities, arts, creative industries are relevant for a topic. If that's the question, it's already included in the topic text. So in the topic text normally defines the scope, the expected outcomes, and the actions are the requirements for the proposals, and the design of the topic, also bearing in mind that we are always asking for transdisciplinary and participatory approaches. So it's the starting point is the text of each topic, and then it also depends on how proposals want to address it.
Thank you, Elisa. We'll follow up if needed. Oh, you hit the bullseye, Elisa. Very good. While you still might be thinking about some other questions, we have 3 questions for you, because this is our first training activity with you, and we would really like to continue doing what was done well and then improve what wasn't done well. So we have 3 questions for you that we will use Slido to collect your feedback. The first question is, and the poll should open next to your Q&A tab if you're using it on mobile. The first question is, how would you rate your overall experience with the training, where 1 is very poor, 5 is excellent. Of course, all the answers collected are anonymous. So please feel free to tell us what you think about the training, and we leave a couple of more seconds to go, and then we have 2 a bit more open-ended questions, but no worries, we won't be requesting from you to write an essay in general. But if you have something more to say about how we do things, like we said before, we really appreciate your feedback, and your feedback is the one that can can be the fastest improvement, can cause the fastest improvement in what we do and how we do it. Because basically, we are aligning with your needs. Your needs are built on the landscape that you are working with the stakeholders, with the future applicants. So of course, and you also have long-lasting expertise, either yourself or in the organization hosting the NCP, or both in a lot of cases. So thank you for the feedback. I think it's very good. Congratulations, especially to the colleagues presenting the destinations and the topics. You've done a great job, and also to Sabrina for explaining the how to work on the REST service. And let's move then to the next question, which is, well, did this training meet your expectations? Let's just skip 1. This was my blunder. Basically, it's the same as the first one, just with difference in the scale. But the question is, the last one, what could be added or improved in the training? So here you can give us some suggestions, some proposals on how to proceed. And while you're contributing to the Slido, we got a question from Sandra in the chat. So she has a question about NCP R&I activities. And she wrote, if I'm not mistaken, it was mentioned in one of the previous sessions by the Commission that besides the NEB facility, NEB R&I NCPs are tasked with monitoring other NEB R&I calls in the Horizon Europe program. Could you please clarify this statement in more detail? Sandra, do you maybe have also reference when this was said? Because when it comes to the work and tasks of the NEB R&I NCPs, we understand your scope of work as being defined by the NCP guidelines in the full of it. And we were not adding any additional tasks beyond that to to the list of expected tasks and functions from the NEB R&I NCP configuration. But colleagues, Elisa or maybe Vera, if you have some other information and would like to come in, please feel free to do so. But ultimately, yeah, it was. We very well understand the scope of work is defined, like I said, with the NCP guidelines, and we are not going beyond that. But Sandra, yeah, no, I mean, if you have any reference or you remember when this was said, we can try to backtrack. But just to make it very clear, we do not expect the NEB R&I NCPs to monitor other calls, not to our knowledge. What could be added or improved in the training? What are the expected actors of individual topics? Provide an overview. Could an overview over other open calls with NEB content in Horizon Europe be included? This would help with signposting, so the clusters, the missions, the EIT. Training about NEB Compass, specific trainings on using the tools. If I can expand this a bit more. Introduction on the NEB tools, like we said, yeah. Notification of training with more time. Yeah, definitely. This was not ideal. Only us announcing only basically 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks in advance. So this is definitely something that we will take into consideration and change for the future. Well, when we called, also why the training took time is because of it wasn't quite clear when the work program will be pre-published. And when we called for the training, the announcement was that the work program will be pre-published by mid-April, not on 28th of April. So these are some of the circumstances that unfortunately we cannot influence. But when considering whether moving the training or not, we decided it's better to have the training now before the flood of info days and a lot of other activities that will follow in March, also with the official publication of the program. But just to make sure, whenever there's a tight schedule, the tight scheduling is not there to play with your time, or make you squeeze the most out of the smallest possible time window, but it's the circumstances that we really cannot influence, and the decision to do something despite these circumstances means that whatever we propose to deliver or request to get in various circumstances, not only when working with NEB R&I NCPs, means that that is important and needs to be delivered in that specific moment, also connected to all the other streams of work. I will the slide will remain open until the end of the session, so you can still contribute. We will collect all the contributions and analyze them. But thank you very much also for participating in this short feedback session. And now I would like to pass the floor to Vera to conclude today's training session. Vera, please, the floor and the final word are yours.
Thank you, Wout. Thank you all for staying with us for such a long session today. I'm happy that you found it useful. I wrote down in between the conversations and all the questions a bit the general gist that I saw. So you had questions on who can participate where, how many pilots, in which member states, the role of demonstrators, some specific call definitions, some questions on the glossary, the use of financial support to third parties, and lump sum topics. And that, I think, is again a confirmation of what we found, that we really need to take care of the smaller players. So this is something I take also with me for the next weeks to come. We have already planned, like Borut was saying, we have planned big communication bang once the work program is officially adopted, but it's something that I think we can reflect on even more inside the team, and it's very good that you also have a look at this. I think in general we are in this together. It's a bit give and take. So once you start to see what works, what doesn't work, please give us feedback also in the next months. So please continue to think ahead, think with us. If you see things that are not working, just flag it, and we will try to see with you how to improve. It's the first time that we have this facility, so now we can still make some changes also for the next years. Once the work program is officially adopted, it will be published on our website. That's maybe, I think the colleagues have already said it, but that's also the place to be. So we find a dedicated space. We have a dedicated space for the facility. I found the remark on having a training about the NEB Compass also something we can reflect on. We have materials, but maybe it's also, again, putting the attention on that. So that was also very interesting and good to see. And as a last remark, you've seen probably also all the work that we do in Osaka, all the work that we are doing to promote this. If you read carefully, you will see that the work in and during the expo in the coming months is also linked to the same work streams as we have for the R&I component of the destination, the different destinations. So it's a message implicitly that we are looking for different parties from different parts of the world, from the member states, but also from associated countries and third countries as well. So I'm very happy that today there was also a mix of NCPs that joined the session, and I would like to invite you to stay tuned and stay involved in the European Bauhaus for the time being. So thank you very much. I'm happy to see you again, and in the meantime we will probably hear from you online or in the different ways of that are there for you to contact us. Thank you.